Home is where connections are made, memories are formed, and ideas are born. And no one knows home better than NFM. Thanks for tuning in to I Am Home, the podcast that goes deeper than trends and dives into what it means to make your house a home.
Welcome back to another episode of I Am Home podcast. It's Renee Quevedo recording from our NFM studios at the NFM headquarters here in Omaha, and I am joined with our hosts Becca Sudbeck.
Hi, Renee.
Hey, Becca. And Hilary Waltonath.
Hey.
Good morning, Hilary. And today we are going to dip our toes into the home of remodeling, and most specifically what that looks like in the kitchen. So we have sourced some questions from the team and are going to be asking our NFM experts here with us from the kitchen and bath design team for the answers. So I want to welcome everybody to Sara Young.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. And Kym Nastase to the show.
Good to be here.
Thanks, guys. Both of you are designers in our kitchen and bath department here at NFM, and we're just so excited to have you both on the show and get to know a little bit about how you guys make it happen over in the kitchen and bath design area. So before we get to that, let me just tell you why we're even doing this podcast, and that's because NFM is more than just your everything home store. NFM is in the business of improving lifestyles because your home life should be your best life, and you can learn more about that at nfm.com. So Sara and Kym, we have made it to the new year, and many times that means lots of lists. People are getting ideas about what they're going to tackle this new year. And in previous episodes this month, we've kind of talked about how that happens in terms of organization and personal kind of development and how we can tackle that. But now we're going to talk about what that kind of looks like in a physical home transformation, and specifically in the kitchen area. Yeah. So to get us started, I'd love to know a little bit about what the current trends are in the kitchen design area and how homeowners might be able to incorporate these into their remodeling plans.
You want to take this one?
I'll take it. What we're seeing kind of a shift. I don't think people are necessarily concerned with trends right now. It's more doing what you love and what makes you happy. Doing things you really love and something that isn't necessarily on HGTV or on an all-white kitchen. We are actually seeing a lot of mixed metals, which we think is super fun.
Love that.
And doing,
I've seen a lot of that too.
Your different hardware from your faucets, from your appliances. So I think it's a good way to bring in like some interest. And we also have another thing we're seeing, which is kind of my favorite, is bold backsplashes. So large patterns, bright colors, bold colors, jewel tones, things that just really make a kitchen pop.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been seeing a lot on like my Pinterest. This is so cliche of me, but they do the like flooded countertop to the backsplash where it's all one piece. And I think that looks so seamless and cool.
Full height backsplashes are something that we're seeing a huge push in. We're doing them here at NFM a lot more now than we ever have.
Yeah.
It's an exciting part of our countertop department that we're able to do that now.
Yeah. So you guys get to do a little bit of overlap there, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's fun. The other thing I like that you said was those colorful tiles. I saw like a deep plum and I was like, whoa.
Oh, that's pretty.
Yeah.
We're even seeing people incorporate large pattern tiles for their backsplash where everything else is very subtle and very moody. And then they do a beautiful, really, really bold pattern to really set the mood. It's an inexpensive way actually to do something with a huge statement that you can change out fairly easily and completely change your entire space.
Yeah.
It's a good place to take a risk.
Yeah. Is that where a lot of that like mixed hardware kind of comes into to kind of complement that?
It absolutely can. Yeah. Where you'll see the bolder colors and then again, being able to see some fun decorative hardware and another inexpensive way to change the look of your kitchen.
I've seen some of that even in like some of the appliances too, like mixed metals, like on appliance hardware too. So it's like great that shift is happening like
in other areas.
In the whole space.
We have several brands that you can actually custom order your hardware to match the hardware that you've picked. As well as panels and front colors and actually do decorative colors that you can change out.
Yeah.
Like the Samsung Bespoke is super
That's
cool.
so
And you can
cool.
get like pinks and you can get
Greens
navy blue and
yellows.
green. So you
Whoa.
can do some crazy things with adding that color in your appliances and then not being stuck with having that for 15 years. You can change it out.
Yeah.
So that clearly excites both of you as designers. You're like, give me all the variety. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And somebody who's willing to take some chances.
Yeah.
You know, do something a little crazy.
How
Absolutely.
fun.
Yeah. I'd be like, here, just design my life for me.
Yeah.
Make it beautiful. Okay. So when someone comes in and maybe they're like, I don't have an idea, how do you kind of start with taking them down the path of creating something together?
You know, our big question that we usually start with is what's not working in your current space.
Sure.
Most people can really quickly identify the things that they don't like.
Yeah.
And so it's an easy way in hearing that to be able to also piecemeal the things that they're missing that they do like. And so that's a good way to actually start the conversation and get them thinking in those terms. And then certainly having conversations with them about sources like Houzz and Pinterest. And if they've been someplace, you know, online that they've found things that they like, they may not have the space for a kitchen of that size or grandeur. But if they like that look, we can create that look in just about any space.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And that's such a smart idea to start with, you know, what doesn't work in your space. Because it's, you know, we look at all those pretty photos and just want to make that work in our own space, but if like your kitchen has to be really functional too.
Absolutely.
So,
you need somewhere for trash. You need somewhere for your forks and knives and pots and pans and everything.
And to make a space like really functional for you, but also like beautiful that you want to spend all this time in, like that's just a dream.
That is the key.
Yeah.
Do you have a few examples of what some of those things are that people
bold colors?
Yeah. Or that people come in and they say like
things that aren't working.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you 90% of them start with just the appliances, the storage, those like they don't have room for things. Literally their cabinets are falling apart because they're overstuffed.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then the things that they forget that they even have because they can't get to them in, you know, like during the holiday season.
The back corner of the bottom cabinet.
Yeah, that like weird corner cabinet that you have to like crawl into.
Correct.
Your stuff.
Yep. No, so it's that kind of stuff that we'll bring people in, and really even after having people in for the holidays, just the not functioning of the space. You know, we do get a lot of traffic where people come in because they've spent now 3 holidays really in their space trying to make it work, and they're just done. Like it's the new year. I'm not doing that again next year for the holidays. I need help figuring out how to make this work. And that's where we come into play, you know, really helping them figure out in their space with a budget, kind of what we're going to be able to do for them to help make them enjoy their space and love where they live.
So at what point do you have people coming in? Like, is it right? Like, when are you guys kind of brought in on the process?
Immediately.
Okay.
Literally, we are back in our little department hoping that people stop by and tell us that they need help so that we can jump in on that and give them some consultation.
Nice.
And get them some ideas. A lot of people don't have any idea what it costs. What's it cost to do a kitchen remodel?
What's it cost? Where to start?
Yeah.
Who am I? What
That's
am I
exactly
doing
what's
here?
running through my brain right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, I wouldn't even know.
There are so many of those kinds of questions. And like you said, you see a pretty picture and you're like, I want that. That's great. But the reality of the situation is all things cost money. And so it's also our job to just help you decide what your most important things are. What are the things that really have to happen? And how do we make them happen? And then look at all of the other stuff.
Like wish lists.
The wish list type stuff.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that we discuss at the very beginning of our meetings with customers, because if they come in with what it would be an unrealistic budget, it helps us to be able to know that, and it helps them to be able to then again prioritize those things that absolutely need to change. Is it just changing out the appliances because the stove just simply doesn't work? Well, let's start there. Versus a whole, you know, we're going to rip things down to the studs.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a personal story about that. We were about to leave for a trip, and we had this peninsula that was separating our main kitchen from our dining room.
We see that all the time.
Yes. And my husband was so over it. And he was like, I'm going to just take it out. I'm just going to take it out. And I'm like, we're leaving at like 4:30. You can't be taking things out and demolishing things. And then he does it, of course. And there's electrical in the peninsula. And so we come back and it's like not an easy fix. Like we have to come get an electrician to put in a floor outlet. Like when things like that arise, how do you prepare someone?
So, I mean, obviously having conversations about what we do in making sure that things like that don't happen. We go and do full site assessments with the general contractor. So we're out at your house getting full measurements, checking soffits for viability about being able to take them out if someone wants to do that. Working on looking at code. Do you have an electrical box that will service these new appliances, the new electrical?
Yeah. Does your 1970 house, is it able to
to
hold all of this?
Right. I mean, even things as structural as people wanting a giant island. Well, that's great. But if your house is an older home, we need to look at the substructure to make sure that the weight of that and your beautiful waterfalled Cambria top will fit, and you're not going to be in the basement someday.
Oh my
that would be a fun surprise.
So there are a lot of good reasons to talk to somebody that has that idea of what's going on in the world of remodeling before you decide to take out a peninsula on a whim.
Oh I could not believe
before your vacation.
Before your vacation.
Yeah, he like walked over with his Bose over ears on and just a huge hammer, and I was like, I don't even know where to begin with this.
Demo is always super fun.
Yeah,
it's very hard sometimes to put it back together.
And we just had to pay to not, so it was fine. Okay, so let's just keep on this track of other challenges you kind of see when people get started in their remodeling process. Do you have any others that come to mind as far? I mean, I know we covered quite a bit, so if there's any.
Well, I think we try to do our due diligence ahead of time, so we don't have a lot of like surprises, but they do come up. Like I have a kitchen here where we wanted to remove a pantry and expand the kitchen and kind of make a larger space for the customer. And we had planned it that way before we started actually ordering products and taking that next step. We did an additional site visit to poke a couple holes in the wall and see what we were working with. And there's a beam holding up your house. We can't really do exactly what we want to do, but we were just able to still keep that extended space, but yet do some adjustments to the cabinets to where it all ended up working out and turned out amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, we find a lot of those kinds of things. And for, people who are just thinking, can I do this in my house? Doing a couple of, if you've got those old soffits, going in and just taking a couple of holes, or if you've got a light in there, take the light out, take a picture inside there, and you can see what's to the left and what's to the right. Do you have pipes coming out, from the roof line? Things that might prohibit you being able to do some of those things before you start your demo project. And get really excited about how something is going to appear when, in fact, it would be very costly to remove and fix roofing and do those kinds of things.
So take a peek behind the curtain before you go in with the hammer.
Absolutely. Yes. And especially before you order anything that can't be returned.
Yeah.
Craziness.
Oh, good points.
Yes. All good points made. So with the timeline of things, and if say someone's looking to kind of do a full refresh, what is somebody looking at when they come to you guys? What's the typical kind of?
So our front end process is about 3 weeks from the time we meet initially and get into the design side of things. We would bring, like I said, a general contractor out to the house, and they would do a site assessment with us to make sure that everything that we want to do and that we discussed is doable. That general contractor would put all of his labor numbers together, and we would do all of our design side, putting together all of the materials through NFM.
Nice.
And then they would come back in, and we would have a full project price with all of the materials and all of the labor needed to do the design work that we've put together.
That's awesome.
That seems quick.
That makes us a little.
We've been doing this a long time.
Okay. Yeah, we have, and it makes us a little different from the industry where you might call a designer and they would go do their thing, and then you would bring in a general contractor, and then there's sort of that back and forth that extends, really getting to the nuts and the bolts of what it is we're trying to get done. And there are a lot of general contractors that are very, very busy right now. And so bidding is not a priority.
Mm-hmm.
The generals that we work with understand that we have things that we expect from them, and so they're much more timely, which is nice.
nice.
For
And
our
they partner
customers.
with us, and we
we're
work
partners instead of, having, like I said, a designer on one side and then having a general contractor somewhere else.
Yeah, competing priorities on that.
So in that 3-week time frame, though, you'll have because I feel like it's so overwhelming. Like when you there's a lot of decisions that have to be made. Like, the hardware and the faucets and the sinks and I feel like you think about the big things like maybe floors and countertops and cabinets, but then there's tons of other
covers,
all small decisions. But is that all included in that 3-week time frame?
We really do get it done quite honestly in that time frame, and part of that is really working with the customer and doing a lot of listening. When we're listening on that front end about what isn't working, and then for them what they want it to look like, it truly is our job to go source that for their space. And so if we've done the listening on the front end and have really looked at what they're wanting, we're bringing them back exactly what it is they showed us for their space.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think we're also taking, we're funneling the internet to maybe 3 choices.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you're not
so helpful.
overwhelmed with the millions of things that are out there.
Yeah.
I think that's such a helpful
And then
process.
we delete Pinterest from their phone so they can't look at it anymore.
Once they make their decisions, we're done. You can start looking at your next space, but we're not going to revisit the kitchen.
Well, and just so cool that you could even bring in another interior designer to help with the bar chairs and other smaller kind of
Absolutely. I mean, we have a great resource in our design gallery, and those people over there do a phenomenal job of helping partner with us when now we need a dining room table, or we need something in a sofa or some side chairs.
Their clients need
and back and forth. We're constantly moving with them through different processes of design.
Yeah, we run into that a lot. Even in the store, you start to do a new project and you're like, oh wow, that makes this area look like a big opportunity. So that's great that you can have that
fluid transfer,
seamless handoff too.
Yeah, there's a lot of working together on things like that.
So we've spoken a lot about physical remodel. Is there any suggestions you guys have or have seen that really make a wow moment just from a simple refresh angle?
That backsplash
cabinets,
countertops and backsplash, I think are big,
very big.
Paint.
Yeah.
Paint is the cheapest way.
Yeah.
Talking walls, not cabinets. That's a whole other story. But changing the color of your walls
can make
be
a huge statement.
I love that.
Yeah. How easy is it really to change the backsplash? I mean, you make it sound real easy.
So typically a backsplash is about 35 square feet, which is not a tremendous amount when you're talking about materials, and material pricing. And so for most people on an average budget, you're maybe $2,500 to $3,000. And
at the high end,
and that's high end, and that's having it installed.
Okay,
we have it. So we have installers here.
Yeah.
So really, a huge impact that can completely change how the space feels for a very nominal amount of money. Which is also, like I said, a great place if you're doing the whole thing. If you want to get crazy somewhere, that's a great place to do it, because if you tire of it down the road, it's easy to change.
It doesn't you're not having to change everything else out. You can just
it's not necessarily a permanent fixture. Like your cabinets.
Right.
Cabinets, countertops, we like to try to keep those a little bit more open to being neutral.
Something you're going to like for a long time.
Yes. Because you're not going to want to have to take that out after 10 years.
You don't have a functional space then if you're swapping that out. If you're swapping out your backsplash, you can still use your kitchen.
Absolutely. And I know that's something that, we talk to our customers about, because they do have to live in their spaces, and we try to make very livable remodels. Our front end process when we come into somebody's house is we don't actually start doing any work until we have everything at their house. We know it's going to go in. We're not waiting on product, so there's no delay. So once we start, we're not stopping until it's done. And we have been doing this for so long that we are able to make, even in the smallest houses, little kitchenettes Your refrigerator is always plugged in and it's always usable in our remodels. If you
Microwave.
had a microwave, even if it wasn't over the stove, we're setting that up for you so that you can use it. You know, certainly
That's awesome.
crock pots, things like that. You know, we've been doing it long enough that we know all of the tricks of the trade because we've had customers tell us all of their great things.
Sure.
And this was before air fryers and all of the other lovely things that now we have. So it's definitely, you know, our job to make sure that we're in your home. We want to make sure that it's still your home and we're just guests.
That's awesome. What's like the longest timeline you've seen?
I would say I'm probably at about 6 months.
Wow.
A total and that was for almost a full main floor remodel. So we were doing stuff where we were having to sort of kind of having to move around and not do all of it at once because they were living there. She actually was homeschooling at the time.
Oh my gosh.
Which did also sort of extend things because we had to be mindful of the kids and their schedules and when we could turn off water and electrical. Things like that.
Most patient person in the world, I assume.
This woman was delightful.
I love that.
Good
Shout
for her.
out.
But our standard is usually 3 to 4 months that we're for a full remodel.
Sweet.
That's impressive.
Like from starting design to finish, or just once the remodel starts?
Once we swing a hammer.
Okay.
Once we swing a hammer. 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
It takes me that long to like finish up painting a room. So.
You're keeping good time with Hilary there. Okay. Let's do one more before we have to start wrapping things up. Can you both provide us an example of your favorite kitchen remodel that you've done?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we actually brought ours. So
beautiful. Yeah.
I love that.
Yes. So this is the kitchen I was just speaking about before with kind of taking out the pantry, expanding the space.
Oh my God, look how beautiful.
And here's kind of the before, so you can see.
A lot of dark cabinetry.
Kind of 1990s awesomeness here. And then here's like the modern kitchen. We made it.
Wow.
Hilary, do you want to hold up a before and after here? Yeah, wow. That's
I love that.
You can be Vanna White.
Yeah. So slick.
How's that?
So before is over here on the right, obviously, and then
this one. Sorry.
Yes.
No, this is before.
No, this is before.
Yeah, this is
before.
After. Before.
Yeah.
After.
Okay, so kept the lighting.
Kept the lighting. We added an additional pendant. We made the island all the same level.
And bigger, a lot bigger.
You took out the pantry there on the
and
right.
bigger. Yes.
You expanded it.
That pantry we took out, and it's where their double oven sits.
Wow, that looks amazing.
The
and you can kind of
see. Is so cool.
This header here is the beam of our pane point.
Okay, got it.
So, but we made it work. We made
course you
kind of a
did.
nice little nook.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Incredible.
This is beautiful.
Yeah, I really like that on the counter or the island.
The two-sided waterfall legs in the Cambria.
So the pendant's the same. You just added another one.
Yeah.
And it works perfectly.
Yep, we had it lined up. Yeah, it all worked out.
Yeah, it feels so much more balanced in this space.
I love it.
3 of them, too.
Kym, I'm excited to see what you've got over here cooked up after that.
Well, and I'll hand you. I don't know which. That's probably a good one in a comparison. Though that's the after and that's the before.
Okay, so before we've got storage was a need.
Yep, and we had the overhanging kind of the peninsula with the cabinets that hung down, and then the dining space in front of the sliding glass door. So very, very similar to a lot of people's houses. The door to the house from the garage is actually what we adjusted. We moved it completely out of the kitchen space.
Wow.
And then we put it in what was a small pantry behind the kitchen that was also inside their laundry room. By moving that, we were able to actually give them a mud room, a self-contained laundry room with a sink, and all of the additional storage and a huge island, a coffee bar.
Wow, that's so open.
So just a completely different.
Yeah, that's quite the transformation.
And we didn't honestly change the square footage or move a wall at all. So there are ways in just looking at the space differently, and looking outside in the garage, like where could we move this to? That really allowed us to be able to do some remarkable things in the same square foot.
Yeah, and you were like, and we did this, and we were able to do this, and this, like exceeded.
And I love. Wait, are these like these are kind of blue?
They're blue.
Just, okay, I was gonna say this is definitely like a fun color.
Yep, they were a great couple to work with because they were all about being able to do some things like that and add some color and so it was a great to do.
That's awesome. Well, maybe we'll try to share those photos on social so that everybody can get a glimpse themselves. But thank you so much for sharing those. And thank you so much for coming in today and sharing with us. Thank you, Hilary. Thank you, Becca. We got to start wrapping things up. And I want to thank Tyler and Scott back here on the boards, keeping us sounding nice and swell over there. And thanks to everybody who's listening. And remember to like, rate, and subscribe to our I Am Home podcast wherever you listen. And for more about us, head over to nfm.com where you can shop 24/7 for today's top furnishing styles and check out our kitchen and bath design in store. Until then, remember, home is what you make it.
Thanks for joining us today for I Am Home with Tyler Weisskopf, Hilary Woltemath, and Becca Sudbeck. No one knows home quite like NFM.